in the previous program. Maria, can you paint this house for us? Maybe she was scared, but I think it was rather some infection. She fell ill with polio. Maria Avksentievna could perhaps for the first time see a different part of the world rather than her village where she grew up and where she worked, Bolotnaya. She had such a wild fantasy that she created a whole series of fantastic animals in 1936. I am from the village of Bolotnaya. Bolotnaya? She was pregnant at the time. She had just managed to write a letter to him that she was expecting a child. National Museum of Ukrainian Folk Decorative Arts. The history of the institution dates back more than 100 years. Its building of 1,500 square meters is more than 3 centuries old. In this huge area is an exposition of all kinds of Ukrainian folk art. Carpets, embroideries, ceramic products and carved items attract the attention of visitors. But the true decoration of the museum is the paintings of Katerina Bilokur and Maria Prymachenko. Canvas of 62 by 42 centimeters in size, watercolor, gouache. It wasn't the gouache that she saw and felt the color in spots. They are very saturated. The plot of the picture is fantastic, just like the main character itself. A young oak tree with acorns and green leaves, and a predatory beast that just broke the tree for its own sake. Oak tree broken by a lion. As experts noted, the composition is built upon golder sectional lines. The heavy beast is of a brown color and is directed in a minor diagonal, as if it goes in a cross-section of the plush green oak tree. She combines colors that sometimes seen in some places to be extremely bright and not harmonious, but these attributes only strengthen the emotional effect of her works. The change of materials, change in artistic techniques, change in scale. This is not a complete list of what is inherent in one of the most famous representatives of native art, Maria Prymachenko. The Second World War became a true test for the rural artist Maria Prymachenko. She took her husband from her and left her alone with a small child in her arms. But those were far from all the adversities that fell on the artist's fragile shoulders. Her brother was executed, he was the chairman of a collective farm, and her husband died, in those poor years. The artist was so disrupted by the surrounding events that she even stopped painting. But in the late 40s, Maria found the strength to pick up the brush again. She returned to creativity, not even understanding how. Her soul demanded it. Maybe the disease also forced her to spill out the pain because she had a small child and a sick father. It was tough. She worked where she could and still kept on painting, probably for the soul and for the people. And it was apparently in that way that she drowned out her pain. In such an unexpected way, the artist started drawing again. However, those were not the paintings she used to make. The works of Prymachenko went through dramatic changes.
У нас є 2 невеликих дитячих альбоми для малювання. І тут, крім звірів,
We have two small children's albums for drawing, and here, except for animals and some individual flowers, and when she embroidered, the flower pot was the base.
Звірями ми бачимо цей вазон з квітами, але він
So we see this flower pot in the works accompanied by animals. But it is just an addition. It changes the scale. She built the composition according to her own plans. She also started making landscape and story compositions. Only one thing did not change. It was the tone of paintings, which remained dark. Well, you see, the dark colors, as I said, were apparently used as a reflection of those events that she had to go through in her life and the tragedy of her illness. Plus, where was she supposed to find paint in Bolotnaya? She used what paints she could get her hands on. It was a white background and black spots. In addition to that, it was not so much gouache as it was watercolor. The artist's work was remembered again at the end of 1950s, and she was offered to work on order. Good afternoon, Maria. Good afternoon. I haven't seen you for a long time.
Доброго дня. Щось вас давно не було в мене.
I was quite busy. Maria, we recently opened a branch nearby. We moved to a separate building. Perhaps you can produce some new paintings for us.
Ну, може.
Maybe I will. She painted many works in 1959. They were in some ways close to embroidered towels. There were very interesting plant compositions with flowers and birds. There is a series with a white background, but at that time there was also a colored background.
серія на білому тлі, але вже в цей час з'являється і кольорове тло.
І ми бачимо через навіть цей
We can see the pencil lines through this background. They were then covered with an even brighter paint.
фоном і більш яскравий наносився зверху на полотна.
By the way, the artist drew outlines with a pencil in a way that was far from accurate, but she was very good at applying paint confidently and skillfully. Maria had a very subtle feeling of colors. They conveyed the essence of her work. It was with the help of colors that the artist conveyed her thoughts and mood. She did not limit herself to changing the background of her works. Indeed, there were a whole series of innovations in her works during that period.
У неї змінюється масштаб роботи. Вона починає писати на велику.
Her scale of work changed. She began painting on large canvases, she replaced gouache with watercolors, but she continued to repeat her fantastic animal images. Flowers could take up the main place in the composition. She made paintings of flower pots with colors, and those were exactly the Prymachenko colors.
Саме примаченковські.
Ми можемо говорити про зміну дещо кольорової гами.
We can say that she changed a few colors and changed the background of her works, meaning the color saturation. But she did not mix the paint. Speaking of her first works, those of course were a bit smaller in scale. There were darker colors in her works, but in the later period, her works were of larger scales, which is also due to the experience that she gained over her lifetime.
період, то там більші за
In the same year of 1959, another recognition came to Maria Prymachenko. She was accepted into the Union of Artists of Ukraine, and the next year she was invited to Moscow. Good day, Maria.
Доброго.
Good day. I have a surprise for you. A decision was made to send you to Moscow. Moscow? Yes. But I have never been anywhere beyond Kiev. Well, there is nothing to be afraid of. You will go there, meet creators, artists like yourself, and show them your paintings. But it's still a bit frightening. But why? Look, there will be the same artists like you. But Prymachenko could not go to Moscow. She started working on a large series in 1960. It lasted for 6 years. The animals were striking with their unusual colors: blue, yellow, green, often covered with ornaments painted with flowers. The flight of fantasy of this artist is simply amazing, and as experts say, it was all for a reason.
Мама прекрасно вишивала.
Her mother embroidered beautifully, and Maria sewed and embroidered that pattern just as well. Her father was a great craftsman. Her grandmother inspired her and taught her to paint Easter eggs. That is the kind of culture that was passed on from generation to generation, and the one which she applied in her artistic works. She did not show 100% of Ukrainian ornaments in her work. She had her own intimate style, though it still had a folk basis.
Є неповторне, але ж воно все ж підґрунтя мало народне.
The artist did not care about the botanical correctness of an image. Such was the painting Oak Tree Broken by a Lion, which she painted in 1963. Her main character, the lion, migrated from the work of 1936, but it changed its color, appearance and posture nearly 30 years later. A lion appears in her work when she turns the beast's head towards the viewer. And then there appears such a big mane and these paws. Sometimes it seems that the lion is Maria's most beloved character. After all, the lion is always present in so many of her paintings and in some seems to be rather excessive. In 1963, she painted the work Lion's Guests. In there was an oak tree again. There were different birds against the background of the oak tree. A wild chicken, which can be seen in another one of her works called Wild Chicken and Grapes, and peacock on hops. The same peacock, but in a different interpretation. There is also a white bird with its wings spread. 1964. The works of Maria Prymachenko from this series participated in the exhibition of the Shevchenko Prize. Unfortunately, the artist never received the coveted award. See in the next program. Children from Bolotnaya took her lessons. She told and showed them how to paint. Good morning, mother.
Мабуть, і та ж сама.
Probably the thaw period somehow influenced her mentally.
Можливо, на неї вплинув.
In the 1970s, another detail appeared in her works. She started to sign them.
Я знаю людей.
I know people in Kiev whose apartment walls are covered with works of Maria Prymachenko.
Сентів не